Season 21 just dropped, and with it a full suite of reprised and fully craftable Last Wish raid weapons. It's definitely weird to be thinking about grinding out Last Wish in 2023, but now we have a reason to, which is awesome, because in a way it's almost like new weapon. So today I'm going to run through as quickly as I can all the different roles and combinations that you may want to farm for or eventually craft when you have the patterns. And some of these weapons are dropping with all new traits as of this season, so I'm really excited to get into this. Keep in mind as we go through all of these traits that you'll be able to enhance them as well, which is always awesome. Enhanced traits aren't game breaking, but they can definitely be nice for sure. Starting things off with Chattering Bone, the lightweight 450 RPM pulse rifle. I'm immediately seeing some very interesting PvP roles. Right off the bat, we've got a combination in Kill Clip and Rampage in separate columns, which would no doubt make for an easy 2-burst kill. I love weird combinations like this, and it's great to see Bungie adding some in here and there. If you want to go for a more balanced neutral game role or something like a dueling role, either Keep Away or Rangefinder plus Headseeker would be fantastic. Rangefinder has always been great for the range increase, but we know that Bungie's planning to nerf it soon down the road, so it's possible that Keep Away would actually be the play here. It's going to buff your range a little bit, but also increases accuracy and reload speed. Anytime you hear increase to accuracy is a great thing. Pair that with Headseeker for extra aim assist, that sounds like it's going to be pretty spicy. One last role for PvP before we move on you might want to keep your eye on is Discord. Discord states that you gain an increase to ADS speed, accuracy, and airborne effectiveness after getting a kill with another weapon. Sounds an awful lot like Harmony, which you can find in the right column as well. Harmony is going to boost your damage by 20% and then some handling for 7 seconds after getting a kill with another weapon. So what you have here is 2 perks activated by the same criteria, a kill with another weapon. So you could get a kill with a fusion or a shotgun for example, and then switch to Chattering Bone and you'll have super snappy handling, extra damage, additional accuracy, and increased airborne effectiveness. Some of these trait combos offer either damage or performance boosts, but I think it's really cool that this one offers both. Quickly before we move on as well, Rapid Hit and Rampage or Kinetic Tremors would be a great option for PvE if you want to use Chattering Bone. Rapid Hit proccing a potential of 3 times per burst is pretty hard to beat. Next up we have Supremacy, the Kinetic Rapid Fire Sniper. Rapid Fires did just get a buff in PvE, which makes them a little more viable, so you could definitely try maybe Lead from Gold to keep your ammo up anytime you pick up Heavy, plus Vorpal Weapon for the extra damage. Otherwise, you do have Kinetic Tremor or 4th times the Charm to help out the ammo economy there, refunding 2 out of every 4 headshots. There's also Bait and Switch, which has been an awesome damage perk since its release. Bait and Switch grants you 35% extra damage for 10 seconds when you land shots with all 3 of your weapons. So theoretically, you could do Wither Horde paired with an auto-loading rocket launcher, then switch to Supremacy and proc Bait and Switch for some really hefty extra damage. Combine that with Rewind Rounds so you don't have to reload so much, and I actually think this could be pretty good. For PvP, I think either Keep Away for the accuracy or Snapshot for the ADS speed would be nice in that first column, and then Opening Shot in column 2. Now one last thing before we look at our next weapon. If you swing back to column 1 and look at Discord, it also says that while the trait is active, it'll refund ammo, which if you think about it for a second is actually really wild for PvP. Usually when a perk says it refunds ammunition, it's pulling ammo out of thin air, which would be really nice on a special in the Crucible. I mean, if you think back to the last time that we had a sniper that reliably refunded ammo, that was the Revoker, and that was kind of a nightmare. And if you don't remember what that was like, well, you're probably better off if you don't. So I'm definitely interested to see how this one plays out. Nation of Beasts, the Arc Adaptive Frame Hand Cannon is back and fully embracing the Arc treatment with traits like Volt Shot and Eddy Current, which increases reload speed after you've been sprinting. For PvE, those two sound like they'd be alright together, although I kinda like the idea of doubling down on kill perks like Dragonfly and Volt Shot. Lots of explosions and jolting going on there. For PvP, you've got multiple solid options like Discord and Harmony, and Keep Away plus Explosive Payload. That's the one I've got my eye on personally. Damage perks generally don't matter as much on 140s in the Crucible because it's generally not going to lower your time to kill, so usually I prefer performance perks. Keep Away buffing your range and accuracy would be a welcome addition because I never thought Nation of Beasts felt that great in PvP anyway, and Explosive Payload providing some extra flinch would probably be really great actually. Those two together would probably make this a pretty decent dueling weapon. Next up, we've got Tyrant of Heaven, a solar lightweight frame bow. Personally, I hate lightweights. I think they feel terrible, but it does look like some of the perks are going to help out here a little bit. For PvE, if you're looking for more of an ad clear option, Dragonfly plus Incandescent would be pretty fun actually, proccing basically a double explosion. Think Doom of Chauchas from King's Fall where you could get Dragonfly and Firefly on the same roll. Same kind of idea. Other than that, Explosive Head and One for All or Golden Tricorn might be kind of nice for PvE, getting a little bit of extra damage. As for PvP, I don't know, nothing really thrills me here. I wouldn't be my first choice. I'm pretty sure Adagio isn't going to be enough to one-shot Guardians, and neither is Swashbuckler at ×5, but if you really want to use this thing, I'd probably go with a neutral game and do like Moving Target and Snapshot. Fortunately, our next weapon's a little bit more exciting in Techian Force. Techian Force is an arc adaptive fusion rifle that I felt was kind of underwhelming back in the day, but it has some very interesting roles here. In terms of PvP, Slideways and Kickstart definitely jump off the page to me, granting extra handling, stability, damage, and faster charge speed just for sliding. It's an adaptive which isn't necessarily the most competitive archetype in PvP, but all those benefits just for sliding feel like they could be really nice on this fusion. You know how like some weapons have the right perks, but you just wish they could be in the right columns, like they're just not where you want them to be? And I have to say, with these refreshed Last Wish weapons, I think Bungie's really going for it. You're seeing a lot of combinations that just make sense, and they always kind of hope to see, but sometimes they just kind of chicken out and don't actually do. Anyhow, Rangefinder is also in the second column here, and if you want to stick to the classics, I'm quite sure that it's going to serve you well. Adaptives have always struggled against their precision frame counterparts because they just kind of lack a little bit of that range, so Rangefinder definitely might be the play here. Now for PvE, I've got my eye on one trait in particular, and it's a new one, Controlled Burst. Landing every shot in the burst grants increased damage and faster charge speed, which is really interesting, almost like a legendary Merciless. Combine that with either Reconstruction or Rewind rounds, and that could actually be a really nice PvE role. Both of those overflow your magazine either on the back end with Rewind rounds or Reconstruction on the front end. And with some extra damage, I could see that being pretty nice. I'm personally interested to see how this role feels, because when I'm raiding, I'm usually the guy pulling out Tractor Cannon to debuff the boss for my team, and fusions are the perfect weapon to pull out so I can contribute to damage a little bit. Usually that's been Cartesian Coordinate for me, but this might end up replacing that. We'll have to see. Second to last is Transfiguration, a 150 high impact kinetic scout. I'm already liking the looks of Keep Away and Moving Target or Opening Shot for PvP. The shot registration on Transfiguration already felt pretty good to me. I have a feeling it's going to feel hard to miss with this roll. It also does roll the classic Rampage Kill Clip combo, which, I mean, it's hard to argue with a 2-tap. Discord and Harmony are also present on this weapon, which, like I discussed with Chattering Bone, I think would be an extremely synergistic combo for that performance and damage boost. Also, if you just really hate flinch, there's a god roll for that too. You could do Perfect Float for the flinch resist after being in combat for some time, plus explosive payload so you can dish out some extra flinch to other people. I don't know, kind of a weird role, but I could kind of see this working. For PvE, I think Rewind rounds and Kinetic Tremors would be really nice, especially considering that we have Overload Scout this season. That'd be a nice role for keeping champs down for sure. Alright, last one on the list, and maybe the most interesting option to me, is Apex Predator, the Solar Adaptive Frame Rocket Launcher. There are so many interesting roles for DPS here, and it's kind of hard to know where to start. So the first thing that catches my eye is Bipod. Bungie chickened out and didn't want to add Tripod from Destiny 1, so they went with Bipod instead. I get it. What's kind of a bummer is that having Bipod also reduces your damage, blast radius, and reload speed. So you do get your 2 rockets, but there's pretty big trade-offs. When you think about damage options in Destiny 2, there are 3 helpful terms, or let's say boxes, to mentally put perks into. Burst DPS, Sustained DPS, and Total Damage. Some people refer to these ideas by different names, or they might be the same names, but they're basically all referring to the same thing. Burst DPS is an attempt to measure how quickly you can deal damage in a short period of time, a burst of damage, if you will. Oftentimes, rockets deal pretty good burst DPS because it's just 1 rocket and done. Sustained DPS is what you get when you're basically running a boss damage phase. What is your DPS across multiple reloads and potentially combos? Linears used to be king for sustained DPS because you could reload quickly, unload your magazine over a prolonged period of time, and also refill with perks like Triple Tap. Combine that with a decent damage perk like Firing Line, and well, you've got Taipan, which was a really popular option for quite some time. And then you have Total Damage. From full reserves to empty, how much damage are you dealing? Whisper of the Worm is incredible for total damage because you're potentially regenerating ammo, but it's not as great for burst DPS since you deal damage on a more consistent basis and not 100,000 at a time like a rocket. Hopefully that all kind of makes sense. There's a lot more that I'd like to say, but that's a useful framework and starting point to think about certain damage perks, especially on rocket launchers. It just depends on what you want out of a weapon. So in this case, if you think about Bipod, it's going to offer really good burst DPS, short damage phases like Sanctified Mind or maybe some dungeon bosses, but the drawback here is that you're dealing less total damage. So if you have the time to reload during longer damage phases like the planet's boss or Nezarec for example, then perks like Explosive Light that increase the damage of a rocket that make the most damage of every single shot might be the play. It's the difference between quantity and quality basically. One isn't straight up better than the other, it just kind of depends on what you need it for. So if I'm recommending a high efficiency roll, I'd say go with Demo for the quick reload after throwing a nade plus Explosive Light. You could even opt for Slideways, although you can only proc that every 3 seconds. Still a super interesting option though. We've seen that be pretty fun on special grenade launchers in the past. Now there's one more trait that's really fascinating to see on a rocket launcher, and that's Reconstruction, which really changes the conversation here. Reconstruction reloads a portion of your magazine once every 4 seconds if you aren't firing, and you can overfill up to 2 times capacity, or in the case of a rocket launcher, 2 rockets in a mag. I know that's some pretty tough math right there. Now what I'm really curious about is Reconstruction and Bipod. Bipod bumps up your mag to 2, so yeah, on paper, that means 4 rockets in a magazine before reloading, which would be absolutely insane. Obviously, this update just dropped, and I haven't had time to play the raid yet, so if one of you guys has this roll already, please let me know. I think it's really quite possible that with this roll, you could end up with the best legendary DPS rocket launcher for burst damage in the game. Even Reconstruction plus Explosive Light or Bait and Switch would be really nice. So I mean, just imagine this scenario with me for a second. Witherhoard plus Supremacy with Rewind rounds and Bait and Switch, plus Apex Predator with Bait and Switch and Reconstruction. Fire off a Witherhoard, land a shot with Supremacy, quick switch and fire off 2 rockets at a 35% damage buff, then reload and switch as soon as the ammo counter switches to 1, then switch back to Supremacy and unload the magazine, switch back to Apex and fire another 2 rockets and continue. With some damage buffs and weakening debuffs in this combo, I bet you'd be cranking out some really strong DPS. You could even potentially switch out Witherhoard for Izanagi, although having some ad clear would be good. I don't know. There are just so many possibilities with this rocket launcher, and I'm really excited to get my hands on one sometime. And again, all these perks are going to be enhanceable once you have the pattern, so that'll either extend the buff duration or potency or whatever that individual perk does. Frankly, in 2023, I did not expect to be excited about Last Wish weapons, but here we are. And basically, it feels like a whole new set of raid weapons with the way they've been refreshed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, definitely leave a like. That always helps me out. And if you have any questions or want to get in touch, feel free to comment or message me on Twitter. Of course, don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I'm actually really excited for this season. The ideas have been flowing and there's a lot more on the way. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Catch you guys next time.